Hey everybody. So I really think that the St. Louis Blues need to look into making a coaching change, and the obvious move for them would be to fire Mike Yeo and bring in Joel Quenneville. When you look at the St. Louis Blues roster, they should without a doubt be a playoff team. You look at them, their forward group, their defense, their goaltending, that is a team that should definitely be in the playoffs and probably be one of the better teams in the Western Conference. Where do they sit right now in the standings? Tied for second to last in the West. They're 5-5-3, only a 500 team. That's just unacceptable with the roster that they have. And they made all these moves in the offseason, bringing different guys in, bringing in star players, making trades for guys like Ryan O'Reilly. They bring in Tyler Bozak, Pat Maroon. They bring in. They make all these moves, and they're still not that good. And they're off to a lousy start this year. And last year, they should have been a playoff team last year, and they missed the playoffs. They played Colorado on either the last or second to last day of the season, and that game was for the last playoff spot. That game was for the second wild card spot in the Western Conference. Whoever won that game was going to the playoffs. Whoever lost was going home, and they blew that game. St. Louis blew that game and ended up going home. And they started off extremely hot at the beginning of last season. They looked like they were going to win the division for the first month and a half. They were on fire. And then mid-season, it just went all downhill. And by the end of the season, they were out of a playoff spot with that roster. And now, starting this season, with all these new additions, all these changes, a team that supposedly won the offseason and was supposed to be so much better, and they're 5-5-3 to start this year and nowhere near a playoff spot right now. You've got to do something at this point. You cannot. I thought Mike Yeo was going to get fired at the end of last year because it was unacceptable for that Blues team to miss the playoffs. But they stuck with him. They gave him another chance. They made other changes. You've made the personnel changes. That you did it this offseason. You've made the player changes, and your results aren't any better. Now it's time to fire the coach. Mike Yeo's got to go, and Joel Quenneville is the obvious replacement. I think Mike Yeo, if this continues for St. Louis, I think Yeo is going to be out pretty quick. But with Quenneville now on the market, that changes everything. That shortens Yo's leash even more. That shortens a lot of coaches around the league's leash. Because before Joel Quenneville was available, you had your coach and you had your level of job security with him, and that was what it was. But then one of the all-time greatest NHL coaches gets fired and hits the market and is now available to be hired by someone else. That shortens everyone's leash. And if you were a coach already on a short leash, like a Mike Yeo in St. Louis, that thing is wrapped around your neck at this point, and you've got to start putting some winning streaks together here, or you're going to be out of a job, because Joel Quenneville is a better coach than just about every other coach in the NHL. He is an all-time NHL coach and probably the best coach of this generation. I'd put him ahead of Mike Babcock. I would. I think Quenneville's a better coach than Mike Babcock. He's available. Assuming obviously you would need to talk to him and assume that he would even want the job. But assuming Quenneville wants to coach and wants to continue coaching and is willing to listen to offers and take a new job, if you're the Blues, why not? You have a win-now roster who is not performing. Joel Quenneville is a win-now coach. That's why I think Chicago got rid of him, because Chicago is a rebuilding team and Joel Quenneville is a win-now coach. Chicago is not going to win now. St. Louis should be winning now, and they're not. So why not go get a win-now coach and one of the greatest coaches in NHL history, bring him in, shake things up, and see if that can have any sort of impact on the team. Because 500 hockey is not acceptable for the Blues. Their roster is too good to be a 500 hockey team. So they've got to do something. And changing the roster, I mean, they've made so many changes in the offseason. What are they going to do? Pull off another trade? They just traded so much for Ryan O'Reilly. Are they going to trade Colton Parayko or Alex Pietrangelo now? I mean, at some point, usually the coach goes before players get moved around. In the Blues case, they kept the coach and moved a lot of players around. Well, the players still aren't performing, so it might be time. I think it's definitely time to move on from the coach. So keep a watchful eye on the Blues over the next probably week or so, because I think Mike Yeo's leash is very, very short. And if the Blues continue to underperform and lose games, then I think Yeo is going to be out, and Joel Quenneville is the obvious replacement to take over that team and win now. So that's just what I think. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. Check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links are down in the description below. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. If you'd like to further support Off the Wall Hockey, the link to our Patreon page is also in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.